Hey, all right, everybody, let's get down to it. A lot of going on in this episode. This is episode 6 of the Twin Peaks Season 2, and the title of the episode is Demons. And we've got one hell of a finish on this episode, so it's a bit of a build-up, but the ending is big time important. All right, let's get started. Remember that the last episode's title was the Orchid's Curse, so it's kind of appropriate to see the different little symbolism of all the different orchids, starting it off before we pull back to what we were left with in the last episode, with Harold confronting Donna and Maddie, who tried to steal the secret diary. I'll just read Harold's lines, because it's kind of an interesting reveal of his character, I guess, and I think opens up a lot more questions than we'll ever get answers for. But he basically says, I trusted you, I invested my heart and soul in you. I thought you were different. You made me feel I could return to the world and find something decent and pure. But you're just like all the others. You lie, and you betray, and then you laugh about it. You're unclean, you have contaminated me. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Makes you wonder what happened to Harold that caused him to shut himself away in that place. Because that's that's some pretty, deep admissions of what's going on inside him. I mean, that Donna, didn't. I mean, yeah, she did betray his trust, but. What in the manner in which she did it wasn't, necessarily warranted something that extreme. I guess it's all depends upon opinion, but so something going on with Harold, but who knows what it was that caused this. But yeah, overall interesting. Harold then goes for the diary, and James rushes into the rescue, pushes him aside, and the three of them escape. But unfortunately, Donna was unable to get the diary as Harold grabs onto it and clutches it to his chest possessively. Donna and James outside make up, and Maddie's kind of looking at him, kind of a bit annoyed. I know she just looks kind of a bit upset for some reason. Maybe she thought James and her were going to break up. Hard to say. Harold, as he's frantically using that little sprayer to moisten the orchids before he kind of has this melodramatic reaction. You feel bad for him, but it did look kind of funny. So now we move on from there, which was still taking place at night. We were kind of the camera is kind of going through some woods, the wind blowing. We see an owl hooting, or hear an owl hooting, and see the owl up on the branches. So one of those owls again. We're overlooking the bookhouse, where the bookhouse boys meet, and opening credits are finishing rolling, and Dale brings Audrey in, lays her on a bed, takes a look and to see if she's okay, and realizes that she's been drugged, and that it is most likely heroin. And Audrey is having a nightmare of sorts, and then wakes up and realizes that she's safe. James and Donna drop Maddie off, and then reconcile. And James says something to her, which will actually come back and re-referenced again at a different time, not too far off. But he says it's like if we can put our hearts together and just keep them that way forever, we'd be safe no matter what. I guess that's kind of what you expect from the people that are kind of still in that naive stage of love and romance. But like I said, we'll revisit that in a few episodes. Here he's able to identify Jean Renault from his suspects list, I guess. Probably had because of Jacques and Bernard, and that the Bookhouse boys were keeping tabs on them. He probably was able to spot him pretty easily in his book of mugshots. And then everything kind of snaps together, and Dale realizes that, Jean Renault was trying to get him up there so he could kill him. and Audrey was merely, just the bait. And so Dale's kind of, has an ethical conundrum where he's once again gone outside of his jurisdiction to help somebody out. For some reason, he feels responsible for Audrey because, Jean Renault was going to get rid of her because Dale, in a non-direct fashion was, we could argue played a part in the deaths of the other Renault brothers, even though it's kind of you'd be arguing kind of on very poor logic and evidence, but he still feels responsible nonetheless. Apparently, this something similar happened to him another time where he had to go out of his jurisdiction, kind of break his oath as a federal agent to help somebody. And Harry just tells him to chill out and not think too much about it. At the Great Northern, Dale returns the money to Ben, fills him in on the news about Audrey. Ben tries to play it off as if he's completely ignorant of it. I don't think Dale figures him to be a part of it, but he just overall pretty much knows that Ben's kind of a scumbag, so he never really warms up to him for very good reasons. Bobby over at the Johnsons wheels Leo into the house in what looks like to be a very old antique wheelchair. The insurance guy is there to give them the check, and you can almost, it's like when you see the look on Shelley's face when she gets a check, it's like the air being let out of the balloon. Same when Bobby sees it. They were thinking, or he was thinking that they were going to get, $5,000 a month, which, might not seem a lot, but given that time of the country's history and given the conditions in which they're living in that kind of shack, that probably would have been living high on the hog. But those medical costs, even back then they were a problem apparently, and eats up all the money. So I don't know how they didn't get too much, and I guess Shelley's gonna have to quit her job to take care of Leo because they won't have enough to do it otherwise. To hire a full-time nanny as they thought they were going to. And I can just picture that insurance agent just driving away laughing his ass off when he thinks those poor fools thought they were going to get $5,000 a month. Alright, so Donna decides that she's going to give Harry a heads up on all that's been going on over there at the sheriff's department. Tells him about the diary, but obviously doesn't have any physical proof to back it up. Harry, kind of gives her a bit of a warning because they've already gotten in trouble once. Because remember, Dr. Jacoby ended up in the hospital from getting attacked, so technically it wasn't their fault. But they still were up to some shenanigans. So their patience is wearing thin. I would wager a guess of saying. Enter Gordon Cole, who is played by none other than David Lynch himself. Creator of Twin Peaks and one of my top 5 favorite directors of all time when it comes to movies. In case you didn't recognize him, that's who's playing Gordon Cole. Gordon obviously can't hear for shit because he's got this old hearing device type of thing. So it's this need for him to speak really loud to hear anybody and having other, speaking really loud because he can't hear and having other people needing to speak really loud to him is kind of a running gag for a while he's in town. Apparently Albert was able to come up with some evidence based on some stuff, or I guess some conclusions based on some evidence found outside Dale's room. I'm not even sure what a vicuna code is, unless it's like because there was vicuna fibers found outside the door. I don't know what's up. Vicuna is like that fake animal fur or something. I don't know. I've never heard of it. Harry repeats that kind of back to him, and Gordon, I think, assumes he's talking. He can't hear him obviously because he's just mentioned it in his normal volume speaking. I think Gordon thinks he was said something about a tuna sandwich instead of vicuna. Said tuna. And that sounded great, but he'd already eaten, so like I said, it'll be a little bit of a joke for a while. And apparently the medication that, used by the one-armed man Philip Gerard is a strange combo of some sort, and Albert's never seen it before. And finally, the papers found, or some of these papers that were found, I'm assuming the one like where with the Fire Walk with Me written in blood on it, that were found by the train car where Laura was killed, were identified as coming from a diary. So, which diary? The one that's at the police station that they have, or the one that old Harold Smith still has? There's the one armor now! Good timing. Apparently Mr. Gerard is... the one-armed man, whoever you want to refer him as, is back in his usual state of mind, given, he's kind of acting the same way that he was when we first met him, when they first broke down the hotel door after Andy dropped his gun and almost got somebody shot. So now he's in there, back there again, so then we get some more answers. Ben goes over to the bookhouse to visit Audrey. Dale wakes her up, and needless to say, she is a little bit disgusted at the sight of her father. After, though he did not know it was her at the brothel, you can't help but get creeped out when if it's your father trying to perv on you. And Ben says a bunch of nonsensical crap about how now he appreciates life more, how worried he was, and Audrey just gets even more disgusted. So Ben's full of crap. So now we're at Nadine's storyline. It's the same old stuff. I'm not really, unless something significant to the plot happens, I'm not even going to really waste my time on her stuff. You'll watch it, and like I said, I don't really need to reiterate what happens. She still thinks she's a high school senior. Now we're over at the Martell's house, and apparently Cousin Jonathan just banged Josie. Josie's supposed to be on a plane to Hong Kong that evening. Mr. Eckhart is mentioned again. Josie comes up with her same old excuse. We had an arrangement. Sorry, Josie. The sympathy meter for you plummeted quite a few episodes ago. At the lake, Maddie and James meet up. Maddie tells James that basically she's going back to home to Montana the following day. And they kind of talk about the fact that when James first saw Maddie, she says that, you looked at me and you saw Laura. And that she liked it. She kind of liked the way that people looked at her and kind of almost felt like Laura was back, so she had I think Laura and her were very close as kids, but I think Laura probably was the one that got the spotlight and the attention and the affection and everything, so for a little bit of time she got to pretend to be somebody else, and she didn't mind that, but now she's got to kind of go, back to reality and go back home. So they part ways and say their goodbyes. At the Great Northern in Ben's office, he and Josie celebrate Catherine's demise. Josie's there to get her money for handing over the insurance agreement that Pete signed, and finalize everything. But Ben starts playing hardball. She plays hardball back, and eventually Ben relinquishes and gives Josie her check for the money. Says she played, was well played. So it was interesting to watch those two because they're both unsympathetic characters, threatening to bury each other, or put each other behind bars. No honor amongst thieves. The Johnsons. It's a little welcome home party for Leo. They kind of humiliate him, which he deserves. And Shelly and them and Bobby are kind of making out right in front of him, and she looks up, and I don't know if she thinks she sees Leo move a twitch or something, and gets kind of freaked out about it. All right, back at the sheriff's station. Cooper, you remind me today of a small Mexican chihuahua. Yeah, I'm as baffled as the rest of you when it comes to that line. That's just Gordon Cole, I guess. Gordon and Dale go into talk in private, and as you can see, he speaks so loud that there is no real secrecy. So, a little irony never hurt, I suppose. Something that happened in Pittsburgh to him in the past is, at least Gordon sees a similarity between that situation and what happened with the the time that Dale was shot at the conclusion of season 1, but apparently those are the only two. The one thing that connected those two incidents was the fact that he was injured. So Dale gives him the thumbs up that he's A-okay, and it's not going to be another repeat of what happened in Pittsburgh. Harry lets him know that they can hear everything they're saying. And then Gordon gives Dale a letter, or an envelope with inside is a chess deal. Basically saying, it's like if you were playing chess long distance with somebody, you would basically just write on there the move. They'd move that thing on their board, you'd send your move back to them, etc., and that's how you'd play from long distance. And this is Wyndham Earl's calling card, basically. This is Wyndham Earl and has a kind of an obsession with chess. Cooper's old partner that escaped from the mental hospital, so maybe he's closer than we think. We've got this calling card. So yeah, another interesting predicament and a little more stress introduced into Dale's life when he really doesn't need any more. Leland shows up back at Ben's office, and I guess Jerry's over in Japan because of Mr. Tajimura, who's interested in investing in the Ghostwood project. So Jerry's flying over there to check out their credentials, I suppose. And apparently Ben feels some sort of sympathy now because of what happened to Audrey, and Leland has something happened to his daughter. Who knows if it's genuine or not. Or Ben's just feeling sorry for himself. But Leland shows him that he's back in the game again, and gives some legal advice about how to deal with the situation currently with the investors and the fire and all that. So Leland is... Ben is very happy to see his savvy and shrewd lawyer back, giving him the advice he needs in these chaotic times. And Leland, I guess, accidentally pulls some white fur off of a stuffed fox behind him and sticks it absentmindedly in his jacket. That's all that happens over there. Over at the Martells, Harry comes over to see Josie, and she's all packed up and heading out, and she introduces him to a Mr. Lee, her assistant. So apparently Mr. Lee and Jonathan, or cousin Jonathan, are the same person. So obviously he's another shady character, as we know, but it's not really sure. I think it was pretty obvious that probably wasn't her cousin. But who knows what his real name is. All I know is that he's got a chin just like Jay Leno. Harry tries to get Josie to stay because he quote-unquote loves her, but what's love got to do with it, Harry? You are a sucker. Ben lights up a cigar at the Great Northern Dining Room and is having a conversation with the rather bizarre figure known as Mr. Tajimura. And remember that Ben gave Mr. Tajimura's cashier's check to Josie. So that money has been sent. And so Ben's got to try to BS his way out of and get himself some more time before he signs the agreement with Mr. Tajimura. But Mr. Tajimura is not taking any of that. And so Ben doesn't get very far. And Leland, as some convenient interruption to that discussion, decides he's going to do a Broadway show tune cover from The King and I. I don't know if he is the actor that did any of that sort of thing or not, but he can carry a tune all right. Remember, he was saying, "Come on, get happy" at the Hayward Supper Club event before he about passed out. Poor Pete tries to make some small talk and gets about as far as Ben did. Let's see here. And now we're back at the sheriff's office. And this is the moment that we've been waiting for, that we've finally got the one-armed man. We've got him cornered. We're going to get some information out of him. So this is major. This is the big payoff for and the entire, the episode's enjoyable, but this is, you get through all of that, and this is where you get the big payoff. So it's very important. Apparently the main drug in the medical cocktail that Mr. Gerard uses is haloperidol, and like I said, I'm assuming it's, according to Dale, it's a drug use either treating schizophrenics or people that suffer, and then he asks him also whether or not he suffers from multiple personality disorder. So we did see the two different sides of Mr. Gerard earlier. The shoe salesman versus the guy that's comes out of the men's stall and says he's after Bob, and he's got this kind of crazed look in his eye. Harry thinks that not giving him the drug's going to cause some, who knows, maybe thinks he's going to croak if he doesn't get his medicine. They deprive him of it. And finally we get to talk with the other part of the mysterious duo, and that is Mike. And Mike says quite a few cryptic but informative things as well. Cooper asks him, what he is and who he is, and he says, he's an inhabiting spirit, that being Mike, and that Philip Gerard is his host, and he cannot reveal where he comes from, which is important. But we'll get it. We'll further down in the season, we'll get a little more closer to finding out that vital information. But right now, it's a mystery. We know he's an inhabiting spirit that has taken possession of Mike, at least at times. Perhaps the drug itself is what keeps that from happening. And Dale asks Mike what Bob wants, and Bob has kind of got his own little rhyme. He is Bob, eager for fun. He wears a smile. Everybody run. Yeah, so Bob's apparently a psychopath, and fun is killing. It's interesting, though, that he goes in and talks about, or asks Dale kind of a rhetorical question about, do you understand the parasite? It attaches itself to a life form and feeds. Bob requires a human host. He feeds on fear. And remember when Dale was talking to the recorder when he was shot, and he was saying it's not so bad as long as you keep fear at bay, or fear from your heart or whatnot. Bob feeds on fear. That's important. And he also, the pleasures, they are, quote unquote, his children, that being fear and the pleasures. Mike says that he's similar to Bob and that they were once partners, and he revealed that as well in the dream that Dale had. And Dale begins the Fire Walk with Me mantra or poem, and Mike joins in about the same time. He says that he was been touched by the devilish one, remember, but then he saw the face of God and was purified. Mike says that he took off the arm, but even so, he remained close to this vessel, meaning, Mr. Gerard himself. So he must have removed his, he must have, I don't know how he removed it. Mr. Gerard, Philip Gerard, said he lost it in a car accident, so I don't know if he truly did, or if his memory of that is a blank, and as the arm was removed some other way, and Mike removed it when Mike was in possession of Mr. Gerard. Hard to say. But all we know is that once he decided that he had enough of the killing, and that Bob had gone too far, he removed that Fire Walk with Me arm or tattoo and the arm that was on, off. And the actor himself, I think, it's not a prosthetic or not visual effects. I mean, it's really found a guy with one arm. But he did so, as far as remaining close to this vessel, as he says, for a single purpose. And it's to stop Bob from killing anymore. It's to bring him to justice, so to speak. He said that Bob was his familiar, and in the sense of the occult, witchcraft and stuff, a familiar can be anything. It can be a cat or like a crow or something. It's usually something that's summoned just to serve, the witch or the sorcerer. So I don't know if that is similar, as in Bob was equal. Mike and Bob are on equal terms or equal status in their whatever world they come from, or if Mike was the one that was in charge of Bob, and Bob is misbehaved or went too far, and now he's got to clean up after him. It's hard to say. So yeah, Mike's here to stop Bob. Period. The sketch that is his true face, but he says that few can see it. The gifted, when he looks at Dale, and the damned, which I would assume is people like Laura Palmer, who unfortunately saw his face, and in the end result was she died. Dale asks if Bob is nearest now. He says for nearly 40 years. He says, where? A large house made of wood, surrounded by trees. The house is filled with many rooms, each alike, but occupied by different souls, night after night. The Great Northern Hotel. Looks like that's where we're at, and we know of some people that reside there. There's a lot of activity, and all of the characters in the show have, at some point or another, have probably gone in and out or around or the Great Northern Hotel. So we've got another mark on the map to head towards that X. So yeah, great reveal, very powerful scene. Dale finally gets to confront the guy that appeared to him in his dreams. If we remember the giant showing up to help him, saying, "We want to help you," being we. So I'm assuming, or I'll go out on a limb and say that Mike entered Dale's dream in his subconscious intentionally to help set him on this path. In the same way that the giant did to help him out. So, by whose orders or what? All those supernatural rules and everything are kind of a mystery in the realm of Twin Peaks, and that's a good thing. It's good to have some of the stuff unexplained, or at least yet to be explained, to add that layer of mystery and supernatural mystique to it. So yeah, it's like I said, if you can isolate specific scenes along the way throughout this show, this is definitely up there with one of the more important big reveals that we get. So yeah, that's all for episode 6 of Twin Peaks Season 2. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed that reveal and got you kind of excited for what's going to happen in episode 7. And I'll get this up today, and tomorrow I'll get working on episode 7, and I'll get it up for you as well. So I hope you enjoyed the review and kind of the little analysis on all that went on, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Take it easy, everybody.